In the heart of the Texas Hill Country, Margaret Fletcher stood in front of her classroom, a warm smile lighting up her face as she faced her eager students. The year was 1885, and the little schoolhouse was filled with laughter and the sound of chalk scratching against the slate boards. Margaret loved teaching arithmetic, believing that each number held a story waiting to be discovered. Her gentle voice guided the children through addition and subtraction, igniting their curiosity about the world around them. But beneath her kind demeanor lay a secret that only she knew. Trained by her late father, Margaret possessed sharpshooting skills that were rare for a woman in those times. Though she cherished her role as an educator, memories of long afternoons spent honing her aim in the fields lingered in her mind. She often wondered if she would ever need those skills in a way that could truly make a difference. Little did she know, soon the very skills she had kept hidden would be called upon to protect not just herself, but all of her students. Margaret often reminisced about her childhood days spent with her father, a skilled sharpshooter who taught her how to handle a rifle with precision. While the other girls played with dolls or helped their mothers, Margaret was out in the fields, learning to aim at tin cans and targets. Her father believed that a woman should be able to protect herself, and he instilled in her both confidence and skill. Those lessons became cherished memories, but they felt worlds apart from her current life as a schoolteacher. In the classroom, Margaret's soft voice and kind demeanor made her a beloved figure among her students. They saw her as a nurturing mentor, someone who would guide them through their studies. Yet, when she turned away from the classroom, the memories of her sharpshooting training felt like a distant echo. She kept this side of herself hidden, knowing that her sharp aim contrasted sharply with the gentle role she played in the town. Little did she know that soon those lessons would resurface, demanding her to confront both her past and the dangers ahead. The peaceful life in the Texas Hill Country took a sudden turn when the dreaded outlaw Clay Boone rode into town. Known for his ruthless behavior and cunning, Boone struck fear into the hearts of the townsfolk with tales of his quick draw and the gang that followed him. Rumors spread like wildfire, painting him as a man who wouldn't hesitate to shoot anyone who dared to oppose him. As Boone and his gang established control over the town, Margaret noticed a change among her students. The laughter that once filled her classroom gave way to whispered fears during lessons, and children who used to eagerly raise their hands now sat quietly, eyes darting toward the window. School activities were disrupted as farmers and parents rushed to meetings, hoping to devise a plan to confront the outlaw without putting their families at greater risk. With tension in the air, Margaret felt a growing unease. She could sense that her beloved school and the safety of her students were in jeopardy, making her wonder if her hidden skills might soon be needed once again. As the shadows of fear grew over the town, Margaret's heart ached for her students. She had always seen herself as their protector, but now, with the threat of Boone lurking nearby, that role felt more urgent than ever. Each day, she noticed their worried faces, the way they clutched their books tighter or flinched at sudden noises. The classroom, once a place of joy and discovery, had become a sanctuary of unease. During recess, instead of playing outside, the children huddled together, sharing whispered fears about the outlaw. Margaret could not bear to see their innocence tarnished by danger. She wanted to reassure them, to tell them that everything would be all right, but the reality of Boone's presence made those words hard to believe. Feeling a deep connection to her students, she decided to take action. She gathered them around and spoke of bravery, reminding them that they were strong together. Yet, even as she encouraged them to be courageous, a part of her wondered if her hidden abilities could soon prove vital in defending the very children she adored. As chaos reigned in the town, Boone's gang wreaked havoc, looting supplies and intimidating anyone who dared to confront them. The atmosphere grew thick with tension. Conversations among townspeople turned urgent and fearful. In the saloon and the general store, murmurs of rebellion circulated, but the majority worried that violence would only escalate matters further. Meeting under the old oak tree in the center of town, groups of men, women, and even a few brave children gathered to discuss their options. Faces were pale with anxiety as they debated whether to stand up to Boone or seek help from distant lawmen who might not arrive in time. Some advocated for a peaceful resolution, urging everyone to stay calm and think through their decisions carefully. Margaret, observing from a distance, felt her heart race as she listened to the townspeople's voices rise in concern. She knew that fear could cloud judgment, leading to rash choices. Deep down, she understood that she might have to play a larger role in these discussions if they were to find a solution that kept her students safe. The tension in the town escalated to a breaking point when Boone's gang stormed toward the school, their intentions clear and menacing. Margaret watched in horror as they approached, her heart pounding in her chest. The children were busy with their lessons, blissfully unaware of the danger looming right outside their door. She knew she had to act fast to protect them. Suddenly, the gang burst through the doors, reveling in the chaos. Shouts echoed in the classroom as students screamed and ducked under desks. Margaret felt a surge of panic, but took a deep breath, grounding herself in focus. The familiar sights of her classroom transformed into a battlefield. She couldn't let fear take over. In that moment, she remembered her father's lessons about standing up for what was right. Summoning every ounce of courage, Margaret stepped forward, ready to confront Boone's men. Her instincts kicked in as she resolved to protect her students now more than ever. This was no longer just a matter of teaching, it was about defending the lives she cherished most. With the chaos settling after her confrontation in the classroom, Margaret knew that she had to prepare for a showdown. The townsfolk gathered in the square, their murmurs a mix of fear and determination. Margaret's heart raced as she slipped away from the classroom and made her way home. The familiar path felt different now, as if it held both her past and her destiny. Reaching her father's old rifle hanging on the wall, she felt a surge of confidence flow through her. This was more than just a weapon, it was a symbol of her training and resilience. She carefully wiped away the dust, recalling each lesson he had taught her about aim and focus. Today, she would not shy away from who she truly was. As she stepped back into the sunlight, the town square came into view, her students' safety hanging in the balance. Taking a deep breath, Margaret steadied herself, adrenaline coursing through her veins. It was time to stand up for what mattered most, ready to use her skills to defend those she loved against Boone's gang once and for all. With the sun hanging low in the sky, casting an ominous glow over the town square, Margaret took her place at one end, her heart pounding fiercely in her chest. Boone's gang loomed at the opposite end, confident and brash, their eyes narrowing at her presence as if they could sense the tension rippling through the air. She felt vulnerable but also fierce. She wouldn't let fear dictate her actions. As Boone swaggered forward, she could see his smirk, a blend of arrogance and disdain. Margaret's hands trembled slightly on the rifle, but she reminded herself of what was at stake, not just her own safety, but that of every child she had taught. They were counting on her to stand tall when everyone else felt small. Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself and locked eyes with Boone, forcing him to recognize that she would not back down. In that moment of connection, chaos faded into silence, and all that mattered was her resolve to protect her town and its future from this outlaw menace. It was time to show everyone, including herself, the true strength hidden within. As the tension in the square reached its peak, Margaret steadied her breath, focusing on Boone, who had begun to taunt her, convinced she was merely a schoolteacher, unfit for a showdown. Ignoring the nervous whispers of the townspeople behind her, she raised her rifle, feeling the weight of every gaze fixed upon her. The world around her narrowed to just the outlaw and the target before her. In that heartbeat of time, she recalled her father's voice instructing her to aim true. With a firm grip and unwavering focus, she pulled the trigger, the sound of the gunshot ringing out like thunder. The bullet flew straight and true, striking the ground at Boone's feet, sending dirt flying in every direction. Gasps erupted from the crowd as Boone stumbled back in surprise, his bravado shattered. In that instant, Margaret's heart surged with a rush of adrenaline. She had proven not only her sharpshooting skills, but also her courage in standing up against an outlaw. The townspeople fell silent in awe. A schoolteacher had just changed the course of their fate. The silence that followed Margaret's shot was palpable, the townspeople frozen in shock as they processed the bravery they had just witnessed. Slowly, the crowd began to stir, eyes wide with a mix of admiration and disbelief. Whispers turned into cheers as the reality sunk in that a woman, this schoolteacher, who had once brought them arithmetic lessons, had stood up to an outlaw and taken action when others hesitated. As Boone retreated and his gang dispersed in confusion, Margaret took a step back, her heart still racing, but now filled with a new sense of purpose. The townsfolk surrounded her, their expressions shifting from fear to respect. They hailed her an unexpected hero, and the stories would soon spread through the Texas Hill Country. Tales of a prim schoolteacher who fiercely protected her students and community. Margaret's actions paved the way for changing perceptions about women in their town. No longer seen merely as caretakers, women began to emerge as vital guardians of safety and strength, inspired by Margaret's courage to stand up for what was right. In the aftermath of her remarkable stand, Margaret Fletcher became an enduring symbol of courage in the Texas Hill Country. The townspeople, once hesitant to acknowledge the strength of women, now looked to her as a role model. Children who once feared for their safety began to see Margaret not just as their teacher, but as a protector and an inspiration. Her legendary shot spread through the region, and tales of the brave schoolteacher reached distant towns, igniting conversations about the roles of women in society. Families grew proud of Margaret's legacy, encouraging their daughters to embrace strength and resilience. Margaret continued to teach arithmetic, but now her students learned more than just numbers. They absorbed lessons of bravery and standing up for what is right. As years turned into decades, Margaret's actions became part of local folklore, ensuring that her story would be told to future generations. In a time when women were often overlooked, she had carved out a place for herself, a fierce guardian whose influence would echo through the community long after she had laid down her rifle.